Hope everyone did their homework.
All right, guys, Dave Sheridan.
Hey. No cheating on this exam.
Is that the best you can do?
Good. Yeah, come on.
One time.
Wait, I'll rewind.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Dave Sheridan.
Hey.
Yeah. I like it.
We are here. Wait, what's going on? Hey.
There you go.
We're here to learn about real estate with no money down.
There you go.
What's going on?
Welcome.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Well, first of all, welcome back to Chicago because you're trained at Second City, Chicago,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, I haven't. This is my first time back since I left.
Really?
1993. Yeah.
Wow. So this is really welcome back then, huh?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes.
How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm that kind of person, especially I like Chicago, but there's like this is a good time to come back because it's springish. Mm-hmm. The other Days of the Dead never really worked out because it was always.
It's always November.
Well, it's also always like Thanksgiving time, so it was like it never worked out because I have kids and we got to go places. So, and also I have an aversion to cold. I live in California, and then it was what what's that, PTSD or whatever? Like my 3 years here in Chicago was it shocks you with the cold. How many people are from this area? Like, or just generally, like half? Yeah, it's cold, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Bakersfield, but I moved here 13 years ago, and I like the cold because.
Well, you're from Bakersfield, California?
That's the place.
We shot a movie there.
I know, I can't wait.
Yeah,
Cold-Blooded Killers.
Yeah, it's coming out
We
next
talked
month.
about it with Felissa.
With Felissa, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Ever since I saw the pictures of it being filmed 3 years ago, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting.
I have a good character in that one.
I'm so happy.
It's really cool. It's like neck tattoos and facial hair and mohawk. And that's the first one. Like Felissa Rhodes, if you guys don't know, like I do a lot of movies with her now. I met her on Victor Crowley. Mm-hmm. Actually, the first time I met her was Days of the Dead, Atlanta. And it was her first show. And
How long before Victor Crowley did that happen?
Like 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Because Days of the Dead, Atlanta would be like mid-February.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It might have been, probably mid-February back then. And I was premiering because they shot Walking Dead there. So Bill and I had the premiere of my spoof, The Walking Deceased. Mm-hmm. So that was really the reason I was there. So, I just said hi to her because they took me around, said this is, and then we were on Victor Crowley, and I don't think she remembered meeting me.
She meets so many. I don't know when she does remember.
She's like,
somebody.
I don't remember, right? So we really say we met on Victor Crowley and got to know each other because we're in lots, we're in the airplane. Has anyone seen that film, Victor Crowley?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
So we're on that airplane together. But as a group, we all became very close and tight because that water was freezing and it was cold. You know how California gets at night, and that was up by Big Bear, like Mountain High. I don't know if you know Mountain High, like Palmdale. And
I know the Bay Area. Yeah.
Wrightwood or whatever. And Tiffany Shepard was in the water.
Yep.
And so normally you half know, I improvise a lot anyway, so I really never study the lines. But this was more like a closed thing, and she was miserable, and we wanted to make sure there wasn't any mistakes.
Oh yeah.
So we would go inside this tent with the heaters and really rehearse the lines like a play, and it was kind of like a 12 Angry Men. We wanted to be right on top of each other to just make sure that nobody was screwing up the lines because she's in the water.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Kane was pissing upstream. He was, I'm not kidding. Because he's in the Victor Crowley thing. It's like, he can't see. It's like, he's got to piss. So he's like, and then I'm like, you pissed the water. I was watching. I'm like, oh, it's going right where Tiffany is. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, don't tell her until later.
Yeah. The one thing about Chicago cold was, I remember that first winter where you were at the L's or the bus stops, and they have the button to turn the heaters on. Yeah. I'm like, bus stops have heaters. No, this is not good.
Well, this Bakersfield girl said, oh, that's interesting. And if any of you have ever been to Bakersfield or haven't, it's 110 degrees all the time. So it's like Arizona-like temps.
Yes.
So coming to Chicago, I actually moved here for cold weather because
I
could not stand another heat wave.
Yeah.
But, sometimes it's ridiculous.
I like your shirt.
Oh,
when did you get that one, in Vegas?
No, I ordered it. I pre-ordered it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I ordered it because I saw your video.
Yeah.
On the family.
Yes, that's right.
What's the Toff family and where the proceeds were going to, and I said, well, I have to buy one now.
Yeah, thank you so much because it was mostly the pre-orders because that was the only way I could keep track.
Yeah.
Because I was giving shirts out at like the photo ops as like a combo, but it was really hard for me to track at that point. So the donation part was just the stuff online because that's easier to because I get the money from that company. Right, exactly. Right? Yeah. And they could just say, you sold this many. And I was like, okay, here you go.
No, it was such a tragedy. And when you said, all the proceeds outside of production costs go to this family, I was like, well, I got to do it now. Not to mention the fact that Doofy would be much better.
Yeah. I still have some of those stickers left. And I was thinking of like crossing the 0 off and just putting a half, like 21 and a half or something like that. Like,
that would be very
never give up.
Right?
Yeah. He'll run again.
You will run again.
Yeah. Yes.
Hopefully you won't have to.
I don't know. I think he's great. Doofy's a good guy.
Okay. Does anybody out there have any questions? Yes.
So you said that you like to improvise your lines. How open is directors to that usually, and their actors? Are they usually against it, or they don't like it?
So the first one was the directors, and then you said other actors?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've never had a director not be able to deal with it for me because I always, they know that going in. I tell them. I say, I don't have a good memory. I can barely read, so I'm going to make this stuff up. So I always say, like, no, I'll tell you this, directors, if they didn't write it, they really are like, yeah, make it your own because they're about the character.
It's not their total baby.
But if it's a writer-director, say like a Rob Zombie, you want to respect somebody that wrote it. So you do try to, usually you try to do a take with the lines as is, and then they'll say, okay, now this one, add some stuff to it if you play with it, let's have fun. But it really depends. There's ones where the directors will be like, just improvise everything, just go where it goes. But that could be very sloppy because like I did like Horrible Bosses, and that one, everyone was improvising. And it was like probably an editor's nightmare. But that one was like Jason Sudeikis and the other guys, and Jason Bateman. And Sudeikis was at Second City with me. So that if you have people that are trained to give space and to listen, not talk over each other, it's a lot easier to do, because you don't want to cause editing problems. But lately, I do work with some actors that they memorize their lines, and they want to hear, they need to hear your line for a cue. So I kind of developed this, and I realized I developed this because like I was realizing what I was doing in the last 3 or 4 films, that I always tell the person if they're not comfortable improvising, I'm like, I'm going to give you that last line, but I'm just going to talk a lot up to that, and then I'll feed you that. I'll always end with it, so now it's your turn. So so that's kind of cool because now it's almost like I fill in, improvise between the lines. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll say something, and then I go off on whatever I want to do, and I'll circle back to. I know what you need to hear so that you can say the thing, and it makes them more comfortable because you got to make the other actor comfortable.
Right.
So yeah.
Anybody else at the moment? Yes.
I'm just curious if you get this a lot.
I get a lot from you because you're always here asking.
Yes.
All right.
Good to see you.
That somebody came up to you and said, man, I didn't know you was in that movie.
Yeah.
Not because you're not memorable, it's just because you look so different from movie to movie to movie.
Right.
You're just like unrecognizable.
Yeah.
So how much control do you have over the appearance of these characters you do?
Again, that's something I think is like when the director calls me and wants me in their film, they usually already know my stuff and know what I'm about. You know what I mean? So I usually, both things like, hey, whatever Dave wants, like let me put like in Dylan, in Victor Gully, I put that outfit together. Adam didn't even know what I was going to come to set looking like. Yeah. So now he could say, "Oh, get rid of that thing." He could tweak it, but he didn't. He thought it was great. It was like, man, you're kind of like a G.I. Joe action figure that should be in a raft, But I was going for like Fred from Scooby Doo with that little like ascot thing and the hair and stuff. But
you had some great game show hair in that one.
Yeah, that was game show hair. It was a helmet. Yeah, and the best part was like some of that stuff takes. I do my hair, I do my makeup. I don't let because look at this hair. It's fucking crazy. Right? And the only reason it's like this now is because I'm doing doofy in a little bit. I'm like, why bother? I'm just gonna go to doofy. Yeah, it's like I have specifics on how I do my hair. And, you know what I mean? So I think I piss off people, especially in the wardrobe. But I do work with wardrobe. They'll go get the stuff, but I'm very specific. And but Adam didn't tweak anything on that. He liked it. So yeah. Oh yeah, my friend said sometimes I have some hairdos and they're like, "Is that a wig?" Right? And I go, "No, it's my hair." And they go, "Why didn't you just do a wig? It looks like a wig, dude." Like that one's like, "That looks like a wig. You might as well just do a wig."
It was just that perfect.
Yeah, because it was perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.
I did one called "All's Fair in Love." I don't know if anyone's seen this one. It was with Christina Ricci and Matt Lillard, and it takes place. We shot it actually in Flint, Michigan, at this Renaissance fair while it was on. So my character was the court jester, Roy, and so they shot me interacting with real people that didn't know they were on the camera and stuff like that. And my funniest bit I did there was I said, "Let's go out in the parking lot," and we found this Corvette, super nice, and I'm in this court jester thing, and everyone's leaving, and I'm acting like I locked my keys because I'm not wearing. I'm wearing like a tunic or whatever, And I was like, "Oh my god!" And all these people coming, like, let's see if we can help them. You know what I mean? But it's not even my car. it's like because I was thinking, it's like, why does this guy have a $60,000 car? But that one I had that was my real hair too, and it was like these bang. It would look like it looked like the guy from Shrek.
Okay.
That one, the one when he got out of the armor, he's shorter.
Yeah.
It had that. I had that, and I had it. And same thing with Doofy. That was my real mustache, right? And so like we shot for like 4 weeks, and all the other actors like, "Dude, I want to go out to dinner with you, but you gotta have your mustache is like this, like I'm committed, man. Well, you can go
take
commit.
me as I am.
Yeah, you can commit on your own. So yeah.
Oh, that's terrific. Yeah, and you do look so different in every single part you play, which is amazing.
Not every single part. Lately, there's some, and that's the thing working with Phyllis is she's kind of been trying to put me in stuff that I haven't done, like to challenge myself. So like we have one called Screen Test, and I'm pretty, that is about as Dave, like a lot of, because it's a leading role. That's like the leading role. I'm a detective, and so you look at like some leading roles, whether it's Matt Damon or Ben Affleck or Tom Cruise. It's hard to play 1 degree off of yourself because Tom Cruise plays himself, but he doesn't. You know what I mean? It's like that's like, believe it or not, it's a very small, tiny. The tiny acting is really hard to do. Broad is so easy. That's why I got into comedy and why I was doing Second City was you get an immediate gratification. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're doing like comedy theater, the audience laughs. And I did that right. It's like a dog. It's like training a dog. You sit and then I got it. The dog knows I did it right because it gets a treat. So like I did that right because like my treat was getting people to laugh. When you do drama, because I did some stuff at Steppenwolf, and it's harder to feel. Are you nailing it? You know what I mean? Like but it was a dramatic thing, and I could feel when it got really dark and I was crying. You could feel it goes the other way. Like the energy gets sucked. Like because people are like they're breathing in, you kind of feel it. If it's a large enough group.
They're not breathing in, you can feel that. They're like holding their breath, right?
I'll tell you what, I did a convention in Tennessee last year, and I tour with Felissa. So he was like, he booked us, and he said, "Oh, and Victor Crowley is my favorite movie. And you were great to her." He's like, "You were great in it." And she goes, Dave was in it. He's like, "You're in it?" Like I killed the bad guy. Not spoiler alert, right? But yeah, I'm in it. I go, "You booked me." He's like, "Yeah, I didn't know you were in that." And like in that one, it's a helmet hair, but I look like myself.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I was like, "That's your favorite movie? It can't be your favorite movie when the main guy that kills the guy is sitting right here." Like,
all the way to the end.
I watch it 5 times a day. It's like, well, what are you watching?
Are you sure you're watching the right movie?
Yeah, exactly. So. Yes.
Did you improvise any lines, or how much did you improvise for Victor Crowley?
We were just talking about that because Felissa and I had a screening in Texas at the Texas Theater, and this was last Friday or Saturday, so 1 week ago because today's Saturday, right? And I was pretty stoked because I love going to theaters and watching, you know, it was the first time her and I were sitting together to watch it, because we went to the premiere, but we weren't around each other at the premiere. And so this was the first time we got to sit next to each other with our two characters, which are pretty balls out in that film. And the Texas Theater is famous for where Lee Harvey Oswald hid out after he shot Kennedy, right? Or really missed Kennedy. I don't know where the other guy, the one that really killed him, he was like, yeah, he was at Whataburger or something like that, right? They're never catching me. Anyway, so that was pretty cool because they have the poster from the movie. It was called War is Hell. The one that was on the, you know, like, you know, when you go to a theater and it's in the window, and they had the Tony Russell was the star of that, and they had him come and sign, like, you know, a week after Kennedy was shot. It was like, this was my first film and Oswald's last. It was on that poster. I have a picture of it. It's pretty cool. So he signed something pretty cool. I didn't get to sign it, but that was a cool thing about the history of that. But you asked about improvising.
On that movie.
In that panel, we did a panel there, and they asked about that because I do a lot of improvisation. Yeah. She likes to improvise too. And again, Adam wrote that role for me, and he wrote that role for her because she was on his podcast, and she did it, her old manager. And he said, oh, I want you to play your manager. And he called me up and said, I wrote this for you. So I read like 25 pages. And Adam's a really good writer, and his dialogue kind of, when it comes off, when it's easy to read, then you've written good dialogue. And so I was like, this is perfect. I didn't need to improvise too much. And the other thing we talked about was having that be really tight because she was cold. So I felt like this character's funny, and he knows how he's going to punch the moments. So I didn't need to improvise too much. The places that I improvised were in that cockpit where I'm just rambling on the radio. And I improvised the last line because the first time I did it, I said, take care of my identical twin brother. And then I run, and I get...
You were setting yourself up for a sequel.
I was.
Like
and
Perry.
Everyone laughed. They thought it was great. He goes, we can't do that because Perry was Andrew, and he already had an identical twin brother. I go, I guess I should watch your movies. I didn't know. And, so I got called out on that, too. Like, oh, no, I'm a big fan. Like, Perry, you're in these movies?
All of them.
Yeah. Well, you were. It's my favorite.
Coming back.
I didn't even know it. But, no, that's what I said. I said I would have had your babies, right?
Yeah.
So, I thought of something like that, so... But like in a scary movie like Gale Swallows, because I signed that a lot. That I just made that one up or smell my finger, you know, because Keenan wanted me to say stuff because we were shooting Sherry O'Terry at the same time. Oh, he was trying to get me to just to crack her up and break her, you know, to see what kind of reactions he could get out of her.
Does she break easy?
I've been sworn to secrecy. Oh, you're talking about? Oh, I thought you were talking about something else. Never mind. No. She doesn't. No, that's why he was trying to get her to break. But I did make her laugh in that. That was the one, and that's why he kept that one. Yeah. Because that's the one that was like, what the fuck did he just say? Yeah.
Awesome.
But on improvisation, though, it's not just lines. Your character. So, like, if I was watching Victor Crowley, there's a part where it's going down through the windows, and he's killing. He's not killing Kathleen. I think he's dragging that other girl up, and he's smashing her head. And it goes to everybody, and I'm holding a tray, like it's like one of those trays that they bring that's flight attendants, and I have it in my hand, like that's gonna do something. Yeah. And so like you look for objects too. That was, you know what I mean? Like that's the stuff you kind of bring alive too. You know what I mean?
So I imagine for improvisation, you have to really develop your character well, so you can.
Yes, it helps. Yeah.
Well, we did.
Doofy was a pre-existing. A lot of the characters were already existing. So Doofy, I performed on stage here at Second City way before. Yeah. Like I'm 7 years before Scary Movie, but he was Chip. Okay. And so I made all these short films. I was just telling someone, it's like one of them was there's this newspaper they sell here called Streetwise. I don't know if they still sell it. Mm-hmm. So Chip, I went and you go to an orientation, and I became a Streetwise rep, and then we went out. And I was Chip, and he's a huge Hulk Hogan fan, so it was like soup to nut Hulk Hogan hat, satin jacket, shirt, this fanny pack. So the only thing in Scary Movie was those Velcro shoes. They're the exact same ones from these Chip short films. And those guys saw the short films, and they're like, oh, he'd be perfect to play Doofy. And then I said, well, if I'm going to do Doofy, in the script, he's already, he's the killer. So I said, I got to play the guy in the mask, because there's a lot of physical humor in that stuff. So Yeah. So Chip is Doofy. Yeah.
And I heard you say before that Doofy was based on the characteristics or based on somebody you knew in your life.
Yeah, two guys in my neighborhood. There was a guy named Bruce, and there was a guy named Adam. And there was also, later on in college, there was a guy named Tony Radio, because I worked at this sandwich shop, and he would help. We'd pay him to kind of clean up. He would have a weather radio. But that was Chip. The weather radio stuff didn't get in, but that was another one, a little thing. I used to walk around with the weather radio, because that's what Tony did. And he would repeat the weather. People were like, oh, okay. Like, this is before internet, though, so like they used to have radios to tell you the weather. You can't just go to your app. But Bruce, I grew up outside Philadelphia, and so Bruce was this huge, he was soup to nuts Phillies. He was like, that's kind of probably how I got into OCD thing of like, like a uniform thing, because he would walk around everything Phillies, and he'd come up to you and he'd go, hey, how about them Phillies? And he'd be like this, like, give me 5. And he'd put it underneath your nose, and we'd be like, hey, get out of here. And we'd slap it, but he thought you were slapping a 5. He's like, that's right, yeah. And I'm like, no, dude, I just see your hand on it. So that the whole smell my finger thing was that, because when I met Keenan, like I told you, I already had the character. They said, all you got to do is go meet Keenan. Like the studio, the Weinsteins were all like, we want him, but he has to sign off. And they don't want to step on toes. So that was just more of a formality to go meet him. And I went there as Chip. I went there and stuff, and I came in, I was like, hey, give me 5. Yeah, give me 5. Yeah, you working? Because that was his thing. He's always like, you working? Okay, yeah. And I didn't do any of the lines. He's like, what the hell is this? And I just left. And then they called my beeper, because it was 1999. I had a pager, a beeper. And it was New York. I'm in LA. And I was like, oh, well, okay. I knew who it was. But I had to pull over and
find a
phone, and then put in like $2.50, because it was like, are you kidding me? Like, and I called. They were like, what the hell did you just do? I go, what do you mean? I thought it was great. And they go, no, he's freaking out. He thinks we sent in some guy, and we're like, man, that's mentally challenged. You got to go back there as Dave now. And I was like, oh man. I turned around at the paper parking place. Like, it's like, that's why I don't live in LA anymore. I have to pay for everything. And then he was cracking up that I came in, hey, what's up? And he's like, man, that was hysterical. And he said, do me a favor. You're in. He's like, we're going to have a table read. Or not, it was a table read, but I want you to come in as Doofy, a.k.a. Chip. I want you to do the same thing to the whole cast. And I was like, okay. And I did that again. And everyone was like, Shannon Elizabeth was like really kind of nervous around me. Like it was scaring them a little bit, And then he revealed, we didn't do the table read the whole time as that, but then it was like, now this is Dave, and everyone's like, oh my God. And then they all went, hey, do us a favor. When we go to set, let's be a Doofy the whole time for the crew. And I was like, okay. And it just kept going, So I did that for the one day. That when I'm running around the schoolyard, was the first stuff I shot as Doofy was the schoolyard stuff, blowing the whistle. And he slow it down, like, all right, blow me. And that I stayed in character for the day, and then eventually, and the reactions get a little bit less each time, because all of a sudden now you're like Teamsters, and they're like, I don't give a shit. Like, because it's like, yeah, whatever. What's up with that dumbass? There you go, yeah. What's going on? That guy looks like he has a question. Man.
You have a question?
He's very inquisitive.
Or is he just...
Yeah. I think he was
no?
awful.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so what's Second City like? I mean, is there a lot of, is everybody who goes there like pals? Or is it like really regimented?
Okay, so it's pretty competitive, first of all. But I was the last... I was more unique than most people at Second City, because I worked as a writer's assistant at Saturday Night Live for a year and a half, and that was like Kevin Nealon was doing the news, and the Wayne's World just came out. Like I was there when the first Wayne's World was out, and everyone was shocked, like, oh my God, we have a hit, and that's when we're gonna make movies of all the characters, So and like Adam Sandler would take me out to do stand up. I would open up for him, and I was terrible. And then Chris Rock took me out, and again, I bombed. And they were all sitting around, and Chris Farley was like, well, what do you do? What's your stand-up? I go, well, I do these commercial parodies, and I play these characters, and I do movie trailers. Like, it was just voices and characters and stuff. He goes, sounds like you would be better off at Second City, you know? And I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know there was a theater. I didn't know anything about Second City. I knew SCTV though. And so I knew Second City Television, but I didn't know, and I knew there was a theater, but I didn't know what improv was, and I didn't know how they wrote the shows through improv. So the main shows, they workshop them through the improv section of the show. While they're running a show, when they're doing the improv games, and the last part of that show is new stuff that they're improving with suggestions from the audience and stuff, and that's how they work the next written stuff. Because when you go to a Second City show, there's actually written material. Like my favorite sketch ever, and this is when I knew Steve. I was there with Steve Carell, Steve Colbert, Scott Adsit, Amy Sedaris, a lot of good people. A lot of people that went way bigger than me. But I'm not too shabby. I'm pretty happy. Tina Fey.
Absolutely not.
Rachel Dratch. Horatio Sands, like that was the group everyone was on stage with me. And I knew Steve Carell was like, that guy's gonna be a deep, good, dramatic actor, because it was the funniest skit I ever saw there. Well, it was two. He did one where he's like a pickup guy, but in an abortion clinic. So he's picking up chicks like at the abortion clinic. That's hard to make funny. And you could make something. And then there was another one where he was a serial killer down in the laundry, and he was folding laundry, but it was like how he's killing the girl that comes in, and it was really good. It was dark, but it was funny. If you could take something dark and still make it funny, and so, anyway, yeah. I don't even know what the question was. Oh, so then Chris Farley called this lady Joyce Sloan, who was like one of the founders at Second City, and that was when it was like Alan Alda and Alan Arkin and a lot of people, Elaine May and stuff like that. So she's been there since. She's dead now, but she was there from the beginning. And this was, say, May, June of 1990. And he said, you got to give this guy Dave a chance. She goes, well, great, have him come down. And I was like, all right, I'm going to come, once we wrap Saturday Night Live, which was like around May 16th, I was like, I'm going to want to spend like a summer in New York, and then I'll move like midway. So then I arrived. She had a heart attack like in June, and because of the heart attack, they were like, you can't work full time, like you're putting too much stress on. So they brought in this guy, Kelly Leonard, who was like he was young, and everything. I got there, I didn't realize, because I've never been there, it was completely flipped. And I was Joyce's like last hire, and I also had a Saturday Night Live jacket. Most people go there and they want to get to Saturday Night Live. I was like, and they were like, who's this dickhead, and that's Joyce's kid, you know what I mean? So like, and she, since she got kind of fired, she was more like, I was like this, like, you're my last one, you know what I mean? So she was kind of spoiling me. But she's famous for discovering John Belushi too, because John was at his high school or college. It was like a Cook County Community College or something like that. He would come in and watch the Second City shows, memorize them, and then he would go and perform. And because Second City went out there going like, we'd like to have the Torco come out and perform. They go, we don't need it. We got this guy, he does all your stuff for free. And she's like, who is it? And she saw him and she hired him. She likes big guys. Like, I don't know if you know who Mike Haggerty is, or obviously John Candy and stuff like that. Oh, and Chris Farley. That's how I got with Chris. She likes big guys. I was not a big guy. It was odd that I was like her new favorite. And but because of that, I had a target on my back. Because you were asking, it's very competitive.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm really geeking out hearing about all the Chicago Second City stuff. It's great. Anyone else? Okay.
What made you want to get involved in horror movies?
Okay, so Rob Zombie cast me, and he cast me from Ghost World, and then in the Chili Pepper videos, that character, he called me up, and I had a meeting with him for the Ray Dobson role, and I didn't even know who he was casting. So in that film, it's a really cool eclectic cast. I mean, you've got Priscilla from Three's Company, and you have PJ Souls. Like, she's got horror cred, but she's also an 80s enough, you know what I mean? And Lou Temple is great, but Brian Posehn, who was I gave him his first job. I hired him as a writer on on Buzzkill. That was my show. Brian was one of our writers.
We just talked about that with Melissa as well.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave a lot of people, you know, like Bam Margera grew up where I was. He used to come sleep on my floor when he was 13, 14, and play these videos, which is actually funny about the Rob Zombie thing. One of the videos Bam made was there was a bouncer in Westchester, and they used to just video, and they would do his voice. And it was Matthew, who played Tiny in Devil's Rejects. So like in 1994, I was watching Bam doing these funny videos with Matthew. Matthew didn't even know. And then I actually did, with Matthew though, was Bubble Boy, was my first film with him. And I was like, oh my God, you're the guy like that's in these, you know, original Jackass videos that I saw. So it's kind of funny. Yeah, so that was the thing. Horror was really Rob. And then I enjoyed doing that. But then it was the 10th year reunion, and I think it was Days of the Dead in Atlanta. So that would have been 2014 maybe or something like that. And there was a 10th year, and that was a reunion. And so they contacted me to come. So I didn't even know anything about horror conventions. And I was like, oh, I want to get more into this. You know, like this is, I love the fans are loyal. And also it was a world that I wanted to learn about, you know, so, and I don't take this the wrong way, but I kind of look at like horror movies, kind of like country music is the rock stars, like say Kid Rock. You could be 20 and you're going to try to be a rock star, but you can't be 45 and try to be a rock star. So then all of a sudden you can go, but now I can do country music, you know, like 45. And that's the kind of same thing with horror is like, you can do comedy and stuff like that when you're young because they make teen comedies. And then you get a certain age, it's like, well, wait a second. You know, I can do horror now because they accept older people. Yeah. You know, it's more accepting across the board. So I love it. I love horror movies now.
As far as it's much more diverse as far as age goes.
Yes, everything. Right.
Yep. So you're a horror fan in general before you got involved, or no, not at all?
Yeah, not at all.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm kind of.
So you just learned about it.
I don't want to use the P word, but you can imagine I'm a little scaredy cat. You know what I mean? And I have this weird. I laugh like way too, like in the joke, like that new Joker one. It's kind of got some violent stuff. Yeah. I'm laughing. I can. Like it was a kind of weird thing because I laugh awkwardly at like the worst moments, and I'm going. And they're like, this guy, you know. So, but I think that's my like reaction.
We went to see that in the theater, my husband and myself, and we there were several people that were laughing.
Yeah, do you find them a little like, oh, what's up with that? It's a little creepy.
No, kind of yes, but not really because I'm like, okay, I know people who laugh under stressful situations.
Right.
Things that are not funny, death, car accidents, whatever. They just start laughing randomly. It's something happens in your nervous system.
Yeah, I think so.
So.
Yeah. But so I would say The Shining, Jaws, like that was more my horror stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
Exorcist?
I like The Exorcist, but I was more The Omen though. I like
we love The Omen.
I was like fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Could be true. Someday.
Love The Omen.
I gotta know. Yeah. Yeah. I was never but the other things like like say John Carpenter, I like his sci-fi stuff more. You know what I mean? Like that, like The Thing. Like that's more my horror kind of movie. It's like The Thing.
That's
Aliens,
such a masterpiece,
you know what I mean?
The Thing.
Yeah. Like I see Alien as a horror movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, so I'm in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Me too.
But like there's nothing against like the Jasons and the what Michael Myers became. But I wasn't into, first of all, I'm probably not into movies where it's like, I know who the killer is. Yeah. That's why I like Sleepaway Camp. You know, it's kind of like that mystery kind of thing.
I showed Sleepaway Camp to my friend who hates horror movies because she's very squeamish. But I'm like, okay, no gore, right? Right. So this is a good one. And then we get to the end, she goes, oh, well, that's different.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, like not every, you know, I do like that about that. And the original Halloween, like I always say below the belt, like they don't show certain things, you know what I'm saying? Like when he kills the girl in the kitchen, I think it's the girl, and the legs lift up, you know what I mean? Like you don't see the actual like blood penetration. So versus like say Victor Crowley, it is. But if you're going to go there, I want it to be really big. That's why I like the bigger kills at Adam, but he fights against budget. You can't have them all be epic. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I mean, we just did in my podcast, The Dolls of Horror. We just did a month of Hatchet.
Okay.
One every week for February for
Right.
Mardi Gras, since we're in the Rona, we can't go to Mardi Gras.
Right.
And Victor Crowley was like the funnest because there were so many great kills and there was so many epic lines.
Yeah.
In it.
I think it's good, but I don't agree with you on the kills. I think hers is good. And I like the opening scene. It's good. The rest, I don't know. Like, Chase's is okay. He actually got hurt. Dude, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, Kane really squeezed his neck. You know, Kane used to love to squeeze the necks. Yeah. He squeezed and he busted his blood vessels out.
Ooh.
But he didn't even know it. It wasn't like,
right.
That's great, it's gonna bleed great, because he was already that was at the point where it was already all bloody and he smashed him with the hammer or whatever.
Was he in a lot
so
of
then the guy
pain?
Chase,
Was he in a lot of pain from that? Like a lot
I don't know if it was more painful, but we couldn't shoot.
Right.
So that scene where their plane is crashing and then the body comes down, we had to shoot that months later because Chase wasn't available because his eyes were like red, like he was wearing the contacts, like bloody things. You know? Yeah. It looks painful when you look at it. You're like, oh man.
Well, just hearing
But I
about
don't
it
think
sounds
he felt
painful.
it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Anybody else? Yes.
Did you ever do anything with Improv Olympic or IO shooter?
No. IO, they opened up, I don't know if it's closed now, but Sean knows her name. And, that's Del Close, who opened that up. But then Del was already dead. Del was in the Blob, the one with Kevin Dillon. Del Close was the priest. So Del Close was one of the originators of Second City. So there are horror people, you know, a lot of people there are other Second City actors that are in a lot of horror movies. And, but so Del, he created the Herald, and that's what I think Improv Olympic does, which is long form. Like they interweave and it's pure improv. That's not a scripted thing. Like Second City uses improv to develop the sketches, and then they have improv games. But I never did improv. I did the Annoyance Theater. I don't know if you know that one. That's Mick Napier. Because I was Joyce's thing. I kind of got ostracized. They had it was difficult. So I did Torco, and then there's a theater called ETC. Do you know the ETC theater?
That one I'm not aware of.
Right, it's in the back behind the main theater over here, and I put in all the video, there's television cameras in there or televisions, and I was the one that did that because I told you I shot Chip and other characters. I did them out in public, but that's what you would watch, and then I would come out as the character and finish his segment. It was a one-man show. So you'd watch some of Chip, and then I would come out and do a little ending of, a continuation of maybe a continuation or a new part of whatever the story was. And then I would go back, and the reason I did the videos is because it would give me time to switch into the next character. So I got kind of moved into one-man show territory.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I was working with the people that got fired. So it's like, well, you got to go take classes. You got to go work with Nick now. You know what I mean? They did the Brady Bunch and Manson the Musical, the Annoyance Theater. Yeah. So he's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, when I first moved here, I went there.
You did? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like the Bob Ross of improv teachers because he's just like, you do something. Some teachers would be like, hey, in this, you could have went there. Very specific. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. Be yourself, man. That's it. It's jazz. Screw you, man. Yeah. You're like, what am I paying for? Yeah, that's awesome. Happy accidents. Anything's good. Because he's like Bob Ross. But yeah.
I saw a gentleman back there had a question.
That's right.
How was it playing a crazy taxi driver, by the way?
A lot of fun. Because I got to drive. I got to do a lot of that stunts. The only stunt I didn't do in that was the stuff where it was downtown and there was them and I went up on the sidewalk, and when they had to jump over, they weren't going to let me do that. That's the thing, is I do a lot of my stunts, but anytime another stunt person is involved or another actor, usually then they don't let you because they're like, if this doesn't. So like in Scary Movie, they didn't let me do the piano, running down. And the reason why is, one is I could have tripped on the the robe. So it was just too dangerous for me. But also there was a real 70-year-old lady, and she was real. She was a rodeo rider.
Oh, wow.
And she was a tough broad. And they didn't want me hurting her. You know what I mean? Because she had to do her thing. And the same thing with Kane. when I don't care, it's spoiler alert, but like when I,
It's 3 years old. And
yeah, when I tackle him, I tackle him to an engine, I take out Victor Crowley and I tackle the engine, that's not me. Like, I ran, but I didn't do the tackle because Kane had to go, he can't see, and he's older, and he had to go back into the thing. And the lift had to happen. So he was like, I'm using my stunt buddy. Because the first time I met Kane was on Devil's Rejects. He was the stunt coordinator. But we have a scene together where I'm bringing Easterbrook out, motherfucker. When I'm bringing her out, she's kind of beating me up. Kane's in that. He's one of the other cops. So.
Anybody else? Any questions?
You're late. You're late. Do you have an excuse slip? She just came in. Go ahead.
Now, a lot of people probably don't know that since you mentioned the Second City, Chris Farley recommended that you go there. Bob Odenkirk created his character Matt Foley for when he used it at SNL. Did when you went and you got to work with, like, let's say Steve Carell, did they ever give you any pointers or come up with anything for you?
No. I actually didn't know that. Bob's a friend of mine. I didn't know that he... Did he do that when he was a writer at Saturday Night Live, you mean? Or he did that...
At Second City. There's some Second City books that I read and you mentioned that in there.
That Bob helped...
He helped him create the character Matt Foley.
Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. Down by the river! Right? In a van. I've worked, though, with Chris's brothers, though, too. You know? Yeah. And Bob, when I took that one-man show, which is how I got my MTV show, there was a theater in L.A. called the Upfront Theater, and it was like a lot of Second City people. And Bob and Andy Dick had a two-man show. And there was a guy named Jeff Garland, one-man show, and then me. And we would all do, that was our night. And then Andy's out there. He's a little too crazy. And for Bob, so then that's when it became Bob and David Cross. So that became the Mr. Show from that show. And yeah.
Anyone else? Got time for a couple more? No? Okay. Yes?
So what made you interested in going into the comedy and the writing or the acting? What really got you there?
I was just always, that's just who I was. Yeah. I was a class clown. You know, so I can't write. I didn't learn to write. I didn't learn to read till I was in 4th grade. I was faking it, and I'm not a very good writer. But I can type, and I'm a good writer. But I'm saying writing, like dyslexia. You know what I mean? But the new thing is great now because it's awesome. You know, for me, it helps someone like me because there's all the auto spell and all that stuff. Yeah, you know what I'm ducking saying? Everything's a duck. Those poor ducks.
I know, right? It's like, no, that's not what I meant.
Yeah. So that I was always doing it. I do know the one moment that I was more like, oh, an actor. Because when you talking about comedy, I was always the performing class clown guy. But there's two defining moments for the acting side was in kindergarten. I was born in '69, so this was like early '70s, like 74 probably. So the NASA and the space program stuff was still very it was big. And we had these Clorox bottles, and they cut it out, and I was pretending to be an astronaut, and I was just in my own world. And it was cleanup time, and then my teacher, Mrs. Hammond, was like, "Hey, it's cleanup time. Take that off." And then they said. She said, what do you want to be when you grow up? They always say that, be a fireman or a cop. But astronauts are big. I go, I want to be an astronaut. And she goes, listen, the top humans on the Earth become an astronaut. This is the right stuff. There's only 12 astronauts. She almost you're not going to become an astronaut. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not going to happen. But if you become an actor, and you're a very good performer, you could play an astronaut. And I was like, I could play an astronaut. So that was my first thing. And then I had a girlfriend in 1st grade, Connie Denny, and she had these McDonald's commercials. And everybody was like, she's a star in McDonald's commercial. But she performed a Christmas pageant, and it was up on the rooftop. She came out of the chimney and did this thing, and was bouncing around tap dancing. And everyone was clapping, she's great. I was like, that's not that good. I was like, I could do better than her. So if I didn't have that first girlfriend, competition. Yeah, so that was it. And then I did a movie called White Space. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that. It's pretty cool. Look it up at Netflix. It's kind of like, it's Moby Dick set in space, and it's got a bit of like The Shining or like a Cabin Fever thing, because through this adventure is that we become, our ship is set adrift. We have no food, and our fuel's down, and it's like it's a one-way mission at that point. And I get infected with these parasites, and I become this serial killer, killing everybody on the ship. And so, but I get to do a spacewalk with the suit, and that was a green screen thing, and I was like, I did it. Like, I find that was my one round. That was the whole, like, I did it. I played the astronaut, just like she said. Now go back
and you always remember.
Yes,
you remember that.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know, there's that I Spit on Your Grave thing. I wanted to do a prequel called I Shit on Your Casket. Happened just a little bit before. That's what I would have done with Mrs. Hammond.
That could be the spoof version.
Yes.
You have The Walking Deceased.
Yes.
What other? I know you've done so many spoofs.
Yeah, the Haunted House 1, Haunted House 2, and horror spoofs. You mean, or
any
no?
spoofs.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Black.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. So why not? It's not too late.
You never know. You never know.
Is there anything in the industry that you haven't done yet that you wanted to tackle?
I don't know.
You'll figure it out when you get there?
I have no drive left, I gotta be honest. I'm 52, so it's sort of like, now it's just, there's no more, when I'm in my 20s, that's you're pulling. You know, you got the pulleys, you're working now with kids, and this and that. I'm just like, now it's just whatever unfolds. Mm-hmm. And I just try to do my best there. And that's the one thing about like these independent horror movies. Mm-hmm. I never know what I'm getting into. I didn't even know what I was getting into. We shot this film in Pittsburgh. It's called Massacre Academy. You could go see the trailer for it. It just dropped, and I didn't know what to expect at all. Some are good, some are crappy. This one's really cool. It's really cool, and I play this school janitor, Henry Lee Palmer, who's kind of like a Jeffrey Dahmer kind of guy, and I'm getting teased by the sorority and the fraternity, so there's a little Carrie element where they prank me, and I flip, and then I go to this sorority party and start killing everybody. But then as they're chasing me, the cops and stuff, I go down to the theater department, and there's this clown mask, and I become Carney, and that's where the legend comes that I met the school and kill people. So, so it's pretty good.
Well, I love a good massacre.
But so the only reason I ramble to that is my job is to be an actor, you know, so I'll take the role. So if you watch a movie, I can't speak for the movies. There's editing involved, there's writing, there's other actors, there's lighting, there's, you know, was it a good script to begin with? But hopefully I do a good job as a performer, because that's what my job is.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Any upcoming projects you are particularly excited about?
We mentioned
Cold-Blooded Killers.
Cold-Blooded Killers. I think it's great. I had a ball performing that because that's really gritty, and I'm not that funny in it.
Yeah.
You know,
I can't tell you how excited I am for that.
Yeah, it's a departure from my stuff. Mm-hmm. And this one, Massacre Academy, looks like it'd be pretty good. And we did Time's Up. Time's Up could be kind of neat, huh?
Do we have an approximate release date for Massacre Academy?
No, I think though I'm going to talk to the filmmakers about maybe premiering at the Houston Horror Fest. That's going to be like at the end of June.
Okay.
So, but I don't know when it will be, because these are truly independent. Where now they have to make a decision how they're going to distribute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are they going to take the worst deal in the world? I'll tell you, like people, they get so anxious to get their movie out. Mm-hmm. And if there's any filmmakers out here, I would love. I think be patient. You put a lot of time into making a movie. Be patient getting it out, because you could do the rounds. You know, get a vendor booth and get marketing, because it's all about awareness. If you don't have awareness, no one's going to see it. Just like I said, White Space.
Yes.
It was on Netflix. It was on this. It's DVDs, but they don't. It's called the P&R, press and release or whatever. And that's where like an Apple or Warner Brothers, that's where they have the money. They can put billboards out in this and that and this, so you're aware. But so a lot of these people like, we got the deal and we're going to be on whatever it is, streaming, Amazon, you know. But if no one knows it's there, that's like the tree that fell in the woods kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's nice to discover stuff, but I hope some of these guys take the time and don't just get it out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Same. Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we have time for one more question. Yes?
Yeah, you know how Jason Biggs was the guy that banged the pie? You were the guy that banged the vacuum cleaner.
There you go.
Has anybody ever had you like sign a vacuum cleaner?
Yeah, just yesterday. They got the real one. In fact, I wrote it down. I think it's called the Dreamweaver 6000. No, it's not. It's called I forget what it's. It is Dream something, Electric Dream or something. It's called the Electric Dream something like it. But the B4 is the hose. They brought from that thing. But the best part was they came up to my table and go, "Oh my God, you're really him. You're really him. Look, it's the real guy. It's the real guy." And then they came back 10 minutes later with like this really rare like vacuum that was out in their car. You were like shocked I'm here. Oh, hey, remember the vacuum that we've always had in our trunk just in case we ran into this guy?
Oh, they probably thought you would cancel.
Huh?
They probably thought you would.
I don't know.
But you maybe you weren't.
I don't know. Maybe they didn't believe. Maybe they thought it was a cosplay guy,
right,
or something like that. Because I've gotten that, which is hilarious. Yeah. You know, because I've gone out and shot, even for Days of the Dead, I've shot some stuff as Doofy, and then he'll post it on Facebook, and they're like, "That guy's really good. He's one of the best cosplay things." And then there would be like, "Dude, it's him.
It's really him."
You know, "Oh, it's him. That's kind of embarrassing. He's still doing it." No shit. That's my mom. I'm like, "Mom, stop." But I went out when I was shooting some of that stuff. There was these skateboard kids up on this parking lot garage. I go, "Oh, let's pull up there and we'll fuck with them." And when we pulled up, and they only see a cop, at first they're like, half of them bolted, like, "Hey!" Right? But then the other one, I'm like looking at this guy, and I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm no skating, and when I slow it down, and the one kid went like, "Oh my God, hey, you're really him. You're really him." And I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm expecting to say Doofy, and he goes, "This is the meme. This is the meme guy. That's the meme guy." He didn't even know what Doofy was. He was just like, they know the memes. He's like, "That's the meme guy." And I go, "Yep, I'm the meme."
Well, Doofy will never die.
So that's kind of neat. I became a meme. You know what I mean?
It's always nice to become a meme, right?
It is.
Especially now.
It's a meme world out there.
It is a meme world.
It'll be tough.
Yeah. Well, everyone, give it up for Dave Sheridan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, so much.
This was very informative. Sometimes I like to be goofy, but, you know, I'm back in Chicago.
You got some good bits.
Chicago.
Don't worry.
Lakeshore Drive. All right. Well, on Mr. Randy Jackson. Oh, no! They'll charge you. Has anybody ever had you sign a broken microphone and shoved up your ass? You'll figure it out. Who was the last one? Who's before me?
Tony Moran.
Did Tony Moran do this? You guys see that? What the hell? Oh, man, Tony Moran broke the microphone. That seems more legit. He was pissed. You can figure it out.
We'll get it.